Welcome, everybody. My name is Mina Jane. I'm the director of the Ashland Public Library, and I am here today with one of my very favorite authors, Loretta Chase, who is just going to be giving us all the tea, all the tea on historical romance, her books, writing, research, all of it. And originally, this program was going to be the two nerdy history girls. We usually met like a couple times a year, but
Right.
hadn't for a long time. And then Susan wasn't able to meet tonight. So we had to make a quick change. Loretta offered to like stay on and just chat with us about all of that stuff. So slight change, but we will still talk about the history and the research that Loretta does. Before we get started, I just wanted to say thanks to the Friends of the Ashland Public Library for supporting all of our programs. And I'd like to thank Loretta for sharing this, letting us share this program with other libraries, because as of course, you know, when libraries work together, we make magic. Um, So Robin says I'm getting feedback. Are you guys hearing an echo or something? Just let me know and I'll put some headphones on. Um, Let me just check my audio first. Okay. I think I'm okay, but if you, okay, good. But anyways, um, Loretta actually has some really interesting news that she's going to be sharing with us in a few minutes about Lord of Scoundrels. But as you know, or if you don't know, Loretta is an icon of the genre of historical romance. She wrote Lord of Scoundrels, which is one of my favorite books of all time. This is the original cover, and like I said, she's going to have some news about it. But she has just written so many wonderful, wonderful books. And I think your last one was part of the Dukes one, right?
Difficult Dukes, yes. It was the last of the Difficult Dukes series.
First one, I think. As you can see, I'm a fan. This is signed by Loretta, so it's like, I have them all. But yeah, she's going to be talking about all of her books. And if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A, which is the button at the bottom of your screen. You can chat with each other throughout in the chat, because I'd love to see what you have to say about what we're talking about. And I'll try to catch questions there, but I'm not sure I always will. Loretta, thank you so much for being here with us today. I really appreciate you.
This is a pleasure. I'm just so excited about doing this. So, even though I'm going to miss Susan, but we're going to do things a little differently, so we'll be fine.
Yes, we will. So I'm going to start off with a question that I got an email from somebody about you and your books, about who are your inspirations for when you started writing historical romance? Because for those of you who have not read Loretta, her first book, like I said, Lord of Scoundrels, was completely different from anything that was coming out in the late 90s. So what inspired you to write, first of all, and then to write so differently from everybody else?
Well, first of all, I had already written half a dozen traditional Regency romances
Oh.
and two historical romances before I wrote Lord of Scoundrels. And those two historical romances were a little more in the tradition of the big, sprawling historical romances that we had grown up with.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, so I did have some experience writing and I evolved. But at the time, just before I was writing Lord of Scoundrels, I have the timing right. Jane Ann Krentz published her first historical romance
Was it
as Amanda.
Ravishing?
I don't remember what the title was, as Amanda Quick,
Mhm.
and that was a revelation to me. My editor had already told me I didn't have to write like Kathleen Woodward. I didn't have to, all right, write like Loretta, she said. Okay. But then I saw what Jane Ann Krantz was doing, and with so much of the focus right on the hero and heroine and the banter. And
Mhm.
I thought, wow, that comes right out of the Regency romance tradition. I mean, she really picked up on that, but she went with it and made a historical romance out of it. And I thought, wow, I can do this.
Mhm.
And but it just happened at that time that I got inspired for the story of Lord of Scoundrels. So it all kind of fed together. It was serendipity. I was very fortunate about the timing
Mhm.
with the story, because it could have been really different if I hadn't seen what I could do given my strengths.
Mhm. So obviously I am behind the eight ball here because even, in the chat, Mary Lynn's like, it was said, not Loretta's first book. She wrote Trad Regency. So I'm gonna have to go back to your backlist because I always thought Lord of Scoundrels was your first, and I was just like, how out of the gate, how can you do that? So okay, that
No,
makes a little bit more sense. But you were not. I mean, were you always going to be a writer? Like, did you know that you were going to be a writer, or did you pick it up later in life?
I was always a writer. From when I was 8 years old, I wrote a play for my brownie troupe. And it had about 100 scenes. I don't know how many scenes. I didn't know how to do it, but I was going to write a play. Um, and I've been writing ever since, but I never had actually been able to pull a book together until after I had written professionally as a video script writer, which
Mm-hmm.
gave me the discipline and helped me figure out how you structure something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it took time, but I've been writing my whole life. There was a time when I thought I was going to be a visual artist, but I never stopped writing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm so glad because obviously, um, it's paid off for you. I mean, you've won three Rita awards. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah, those are the RWA, which imploded. We won't talk about that. But the Romance Writers of America's, Oscars of writing. And so, and Lord of Scoundrels was the top pick of All About Romance for like years. Like they would do the top 100 books every year or every couple of years. And Lord of Scoundrels was always number one until like maybe like 5 years ago. How did that make you feel? Like to know that the book that you had been inspired to and you took like a chance on and you were writing as Loretta, was so popular and enduring.
That was the part that really surprised me. I did not. That wasn't what I expected. Um, I knew it was a strong book. I was really happy with the book. I loved the book. I loved writing it. But for it to keep going to the top of those lists was really kind of a surprise
Mm-hmm.
for me. But it made me feel pretty good. I mean, it's like your ego is being stroked and pumped up, and yeah, it's a good feeling.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then you wrote, Charlene mentions the Corsingtons, Mr. Impossible. And, how did you go from writing something like Lower to Scoundrels to that next series
I
for you?
had I had written a book after Lord of Scoundrels, The Last Hellion, and then things happened in my life, and I got blocked, and I couldn't write
Oh.
for maybe 4 years, something like that. And at some point, there was other stuff happened in my life, and I had to get back to writing. So uh, I'm not sure where it came from, but I had this thought about I always think about the younger sons, and we're always thinking about the person, the man who inherits everything, the son who inherits everything. And I thought, well, that's kind of hard on the father because then he still has to take care of the other kids, but they can't inherit. He can't split up his estate among his kids.
Mm-hmm.
I've since learned even more about it, which I can talk about later. And I thought, so here's this Earl who has 5 sons, which is way more than he thinks necessary. But he has to do something about them. And they're all problems for him. And he gets fed up. And so when they get to about close to their 30th birthday, they get the ultimatum: find a rich wife or get a job. And that was my starting point. I thought that's just so great
Mm-hmm.
because they're being challenged now. They have to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved writing that series. That was really fun. I loved the sons. I loved dealing with them. I loved the parents. It was a really fun series to write.
Yeah, I mean, we still talk about Mr. Impossible, Mr. Perfect, Glass Hellion. I mean, just so I mean, I know that was in the middle, but your characters are so alive. And I have this really great question from Molly. Loretta writes amazing himbos. Ashmont from 10 Things I Hate about the Duke is my favorite, but Rupert Carsington from Mr. Impossible and Longmore from the Dressmaker series are notable runners up. Why do you gravitate toward these himbo heroes?
I, I don't know. Sometimes I just want those are the guys that come to me, and they're so much fun to write. Um, it gives me so much room for humor because they're just so thick. And it's like the girls have to hit them over the head to get to straighten things out with them. But it's
Or
been
to
true
shoot
ever.
them.
Or
They could shoot them.
right. But I kind of like that, and it also allows me to address the differences in the way men and women think. Our brains work very differently, and I think in many ways the the idea of the heroes being dumb, well, they're not really dumb. They're just kind of slow to pick up on things because their brains don't work the way the women's brains do.
Hmm.
And that's just really fun for me. The cluelessness is fun to write about.
Hmm.
I don't know where that came from. I just maybe if I might think about it like later and discover something that triggered it. Why do I like writing about those kinds of men, or why did it even occur to me to write those kinds of men?
Hmm.
But there was an inspiration. I know way back when, I think it was um, maybe in the 90s or the right around the beginning of the 21st century. It's so funny. When I talk, I feel like I'm a very aged person because I'm talking about things, in the 20th century. But there was a book that came up called "You Just Don't Understand." That was a revelation to me because I didn't grow up with brothers, so I didn't really understand that men think differently. And the book helped me understand. And after that, that's when I started creating the kinds of, was it Jim Himbo?
Yeah.
Is that? Yes, yes.
But well, Mia wants to know, how do you keep the dialogue, so the banter so fresh in your books? I mean, every single one is different in its own way, and and that too shows a level of like difference between your male and female characters. Is like like the guys can be a little bit slower. The women are like, you know,
Yes, the women's minds are much busier. There's a lot more going on there. Um, but in terms of dialogue, I think that was simply something that over the years became a strength for me. And it might have had something to do with writing scripts for video. But I knew I could write good dialogue. I have no idea why, but that was what I focused on when I wrote my very first book. I was like, well, there are a lot of things I don't really know how to do. I'm not sure I know how to describe a scene very well. But so I put all the emphasis on the conversation because
hmm
that was my strength.
hmm So when you go to like cocktail parties and stuff, are you like the life of the party because you no? I would imagine you would be.
Nope. I'm silent still and silent all. I don't talk very much usually, unless someone asks a nerdy history question or they say something that's historically stupid. Then, of course, I must hold forth. But no, I'm usually the one who's listening because you learn things when you listen.
I've noticed that about you, Loretta. Like I've now seen you in person like several times, and I do notice that you really pay attention to what's happening around you. But but then where does this dialogue come from? You know, is it do you have like writers groups? Do you have people, do you have people reading your stuff and being like, "Oh, that would be funnier if you said it this way," or "Wow, that was you really hit it out of the park there."
No, it's just there. It's the way my brain works. It might have to do with with the way I grew up,
Mhm.
um, it, or I really don't know. But that I just know I do that pretty well. And I don't know, it's like you have a certain skill in particular things, and I think I have that's a good skill that I have.
Mhm.
But
Well,
where it comes from,
I guess it doesn't matter. I just love that you leave it all on the page and then we get to read it. Helen says this funny thing. I love the various crimes committed against millinery. Was that intentional? And the reason I love this question is because I love the dressmaker series, and I want to delve into that a little bit more, especially in terms of your research. But like, what is with the crimes against millinery? And I know I'm saying that wrong.
I don't know. I'm not sure I understand the question. What crimes against millinery?
All right, Helen, bring it in. Tell us exactly what you mean by these crimes. So, but let's talk about the dressmaker series a little bit because this was like this was a revelation to me, like that you had characters that were working women, trying to make a life for themselves, and the descriptions of the art of making dresses and making, it was just amazing. So how did that start for you?
Well, I'm not quite sure. Most of my ideas for series happen because my agent makes a suggestion. I don't take all her suggestions, but every so often something is like, wow, I like that idea. And she had noticed that I had been paying a lot of attention to historical fashion on various blogs. And that was, I think, why she suggested I try writing about dressmakers. And so I became even more interested in it, and I started writing it. But part of the thing, too, was to write about women who had to earn a living. And there
Mm-hmm.
were not too many ways for them to earn a living. And then there was also the idea of they're a little bit unscrupulous, which made them more fun. And they were French.
Mm-hmm.
So they had this like special style. Um, Geez, I'm not sure. Ask me something else about this, and I'll see if I can figure out where to go with it.
Okay, because Helen says that hats and bonnets are constantly being crushed, thrown away, despised, etc. I mean, I would despise those as well. They seem pretty uncomfortable, like with the big birds and stuff on them.
Okay. I was wondering what her question was. Yeah, because I was thinking of milliners often tended, at least for a long time, they tended to have a combination of things. And this is what I got from Colonial Williamsburg. You would have a shop, and it might be the milliner shop, but they're actually dressmakers. They're making clothes. They're selling odds and ends of things. And the thing with the hats, well, this from about the 1820s through the 1830s, women were wearing these amazing things on their heads, including the way they arranged their hair. And and it's just funny to me when the hats get crushed or stomped on, or it's a little bit of slapstick, which I like to have in my stories.
But your slapstick is never like Three Stooges slapstick, which I don't really love that much. It's so intentional and thoughtful. So I never really think of your humor as slapstick. Um,
But people fall down, they fall on their faces. Their
yeah, that's
clothes,
true.
yeah, they fall into rivers. Their hats get knocked off. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like there's always purpose to it, though. The physical comedy is really fun. Um, Mary Lynn asks, Who are the hero and heroine that surprised you the most? They can be in different books.
Gee, that's a hard one. Um, you know, in a way, I think it might be the last book, the last difficult Duke's book,
Hmm.
because when I first started working on that story, I had a very different idea of where it was going to go.
Hmm.
But the hero and heroine would not cooperate, and they wouldn't talk. I couldn't get them to have a conversation. I couldn't figure out what they wanted to do. Um, and this went on for quite a while. But eventually, and I had something in the back of my head, but I couldn't figure out how to make it work. Realizing that a great part of the problem that the hero and heroine both had was the hero's friends, was at the heart of difficulties. And I think once I addressed that, the hero and heroine started to cooperate with me. And it was a surprise. They were not quite what I thought they were going to be. Um, they were trickier
Mm-hmm.
characters than I had initially expected them to be. My vision of them was a little simpler, and maybe their relationship was closer to what had happened between the hero and heroine in the previous two books. But I think Blackwood and Alice are really different people.
Mm-hmm. And I remember this time because you called it writer's block, and it took a couple 3 years for this book to come out. And I remember thinking like, how can Loretta Chase have writer's block? Like, it just doesn't seem possible. Like you had been churning them out. So I don't know. Does that get difficult too to like really get books out on a regular kind of schedule?
Yes, it's really difficult. The kind of books that I write, yes, it's really, really hard. Part of it is my own fault because I'm obsessive compulsive. Um, but I don't know how to write a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And until the story starts to make sense to me, I can't put it together. I'll come up with, for that book, I had so many different ideas. I started and stopped so many times. I thought, oh, now I've got it. It's going to go in this direction. Oh, now I've got it. It's going to go in. But it doesn't. And whatever's going on in my brain feels like the characters are just refusing to cooperate. And until I figure out what it is they want, the story is not going to happen. So, and as I get older, because I'm trying not to write the same book over and over again, it gets trickier.
Mm-hmm.
Trickier to find a new way to create the romance, trickier to find an interesting hero and heroine, and what's the dynamic between them. Um, yeah, it's just the part of the. I don't know, what did I do? I said something about being a Gemini. I get bored. I want
So,
to be
well, I
now for something completely different.
well, I'm getting some love from Elaine about you being a perfectionist. Thank God, because because it shows in your writing, and then we can enjoy your writing. So when you say you want to do something completely different, you get bored. Would you ever like not write historical romance?
I'm I've I've toyed with that idea, but I have a problem with giving up on the happy ending.
Mm, hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, you could still do happy ending and write a contemporary or a sci-fi. You could be the Loretta Chase of Jane Ann Krentz.
I don't know. Um, it's what I've done so far was, and this is part of the reason I'm writing romance and started writing romance. I would read all these classics with their unhappy endings
Hmm.
because tragedy seems to be, people seem to think, and I personally believe this is a patriarchal idea, that tragedy is superior to comedy. And by comedy, I mean something that has a happy ending, which is why genre fiction tends not to be as respected as literary fiction. But I want the happy ending. So I would take some stories and rewrite them the way they should come out. And that even applied when I wrote 10 Things I Hate About the Duke. So The Taming of the Shrew has a supposedly happy ending, but I didn't like that ending. No,
He's
no.
happy for who?
Exactly. So I had to write my own version of it. And I've taken other stories, often from someone like Dickens, and taken an element of that and made it into a romance the
Mm.
way I thought the story should have gone. Right. So I think that's my difficulty in not moving to another genre.
Hmm. And a lot of people are like, yeah, don't do that. So we're quite happy with this, with what you write. But
Yeah, and
yeah.
there are people. It's like the romantasy that's very, very popular now, and I think that's wonderful, but that's not me.
Yeah, I mean, you have your strengths. We all do, and we love reading what you write. So don't do it. Don't change. And
Okay.
all the happy endings. And it's so funny because the way that you said, you take elements of the classics and turn it around. That's called fan fiction, Loretta.
Really?
Or maybe adaptations. Help me out, everybody. Am I
Yeah.
correct? Am I wrong?
Okay, I didn't know I was writing fan fiction. That's so funny. Wait till I tell Dickens.
Well, you're gonna have to pull him out of a grave to do that.
Uh,
Okay, so I'm going to get to some of these questions. Jeanette wants to know, did I miss a book about one of the Carsington brothers? Jeffrey? Was there a book about him?
no, no, there was not because this shows how crazy my mind can be. When I started to write the book, I was picturing a trilogy, and I was going to write about the three younger sons. I figured the two oldest, the father didn't have to worry about them because they were both married. He thought happily, um, and but then whatever's going on in my mind just got sidetracked, and I realized that the eldest son was not happy, and he'd lost his wife, and I had to write his story. Jeffrey, I thought he was happy. I wasn't going to kill his wife. I just never. It's some character sees your imagination, and I don't even know why it would have been that particular character who Benedict in Lord Perfect. I don't know why he was the one who captured my imagination, but he appeared in a couple of scenes, and I thought, this guy isn't happy.
Hmm.
Something's wrong, and I've got to deal with it. So sometimes I think that's you just go where the characters are taking you.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, would you ever do a prequel of Jeffrey meeting his happy wife?
that's a possibility. It's
Not your
hard though to
ages, but I have an idea. I think it's a good
right.
idea.
It's hard to get back into the state of mind of a series that I'd written so many years ago. That's one of the people have asked me about writing a book about Dominic, um, Lord Dane's son, and I think anyone who read it, if I tried to write it now, I could never get my brain into the same place.
Hmm.
Um, I'm a different person, and I can't recapture what was going on when I wrote that book. So that's one big problem, and the other big problem is that in the story he's 8 years old. In order to turn him into adult, I have to go right into the Victorian era, which I'd really rather not.
Hmm.
I mean, some people do great stuff there. I just don't have uh, a strong feeling for it. I love the 1820s and 1830s, and there's so much about it that's interesting to me.
Hmm.
So
This question, I'm not quite sure if you'll be able to help with it, but I have difficulty picturing Olivia's scarab ring. I Googled it, but found vastly different photos. Can you describe it a bit? Is it made of stone?
the scarabs are stones, yes.
Hmm.
And I mean, I saw dozens of these at the Petrie Museum in London. Um, I think all you have to do is just picture a scarab stone in a ring. Um,
Okay. Got that? Scarab
yeah,
stone in a ring. I mean,
yeah,
was there a shape?
they carved them out of different kinds of stones, different kinds of gemstones. So it could be jade but it would have to be something that's reasonably easy to carve,
Mhm.
that kind of a stone.
Isn't scarab more like the shape of it as versus the material?
Yes, it's the shape of it.
Okay. Molly asked a question which I think we could like go totally into the weeds about. So I'm just going to ask you for an overview of what about the 1820s and 30s draws you to that era?
A lot of it is the clothes.
Hmm.
They're so over the top. It makes it really fun to write because it's going to be the heroine has her point of view about her clothes, but she's just like, this is how you dress today. I want to look good. And the guys are like, what on earth? because they've got things sprouting out of their heads. And when you start getting up to the 1830s, they've got those gigantic sleeves, and wearing so many layers of things. And I'm not just talking their underwear, but all the accessories. And I love it. It's so much. It's like wretched excess. And I love that women were that extravagant in their clothing. And this includes even women who were not necessarily rich, but they would make their own effort to get that kind of look for themselves. And the women are making themselves big. And
Mm,
they're and the fact that the hair's going up like this and the hats are going up like this is so different from the Victorian era, when you've got those middle parts and the hair's like this, and you've got the droopy straight shoulders. Different feeling. There's like exuberance in the 1820s and 30s that I absolutely love.
mhm,
So, and also because so many people were writing in the Regency era, sort of around the Waterloo time. Um, and I was like, I wanted to go someplace a little bit different part of history. So those two things kind of worked for me.
mhm. I love it. So, um, Suzanne asked a writing question. Um, with your dialogue or your writing in general, do you polish as you draft your book, or are you a writer who gets everything down fast and then revises and polishes? And how many rounds of revisions do you typically do?
And there's a um, writer of horror who says every page is revised about 50 times.
That's not Stephen King, I don't think.
No, it's the other. Oh God, why can't I? I'll remember his name later. Uh, I revise as I go along, so there are hundreds of drafts of every page. Just on, yeah. I kill trees because I
Oh,
also like to look at the hard copy. It's hard for me to. I can edit on the screen, but I miss things. So that's part of the obsessive thing. But yes, every page. I do not. I wish I could write from beginning to end and then go back. Oh, that would be so lovely. But no, no.
um, everybody's got their own way, and those truffula trees will grow back, so no worries there.
I
um,
pretend it's bamboo.
It'll come back fast. So, Mary has a question, which I think is great because I think one of my favorite stories that you ever told was about your travels in London. Mary says, I'm on my way to London in 3 weeks. Where are your favorite London locations, and how do you do your research when you are traveling? And I know that one of them is the Albert and Victorian Albert Museum, but I also want you to tell the story about the duel you happened upon.
Oh, yes. So I said, we have to trace my character's footsteps. So we went out to wherever it is to find the Green Man pub because I've used that several times. And we go out there, we check, there's the pub, it's still there. The environment looks very similar, but they're buses, which they didn't used to be, but they would have had coaches. And we were walking along the street and we're trying to find where would they have the duel. Um, oh, this is Putney. Yeah, I think it's Putney. Putney Heath. And we're walking along and we see this sort of opening in the trees. And two guys emerge and they look like they've been beating the crap out of each other. And so we go, they went by us and we go into the place and it's this perfect spot for a duel. And that's what we decided was those guys were having a duel, only they were probably punching each other out, or else they were very, very drunk, which is also possible. But that was, yeah, it was the process of retracing characters' footsteps because I want to make sure I got it right. Even though the book's out, I can't do anything.
Love that story because it just seems like you happened upon, the perfect place for the perfect thing. Um,
Yes.
I love that. So like you said, I know you like the Victoria and Albert Museum as a place to visit and get some ideas from, or just kind of ruminate. Are there other places in London that you go to regularly?
Um, the V&A is one I go to all the time, and Walter and I have returned to the Wallace collection repeatedly. Um, it has the the collection is just the eye candy is amazing. It's a stunning, stunning collection. Fabulous paintings, furnishings. Much of what's in there is French, and a lot is had belonged to people who lost their heads in the French Revolution. A lot was the result of aristocrats losing their fortunes. So the English would go over and they profited by it. They just started collecting things, and the family who had the Wallace collection were Hartford, the Marquis of Hartford, I believe. Um, it bought quite a bit over the years, and so it'd be like father, son, and then someone had an illegitimate son. I have to have the family tree in front of me to keep things straight because it's really complicated. Um, but they collected all these beautiful pieces, and it's just visually stunning place. Even my husband loves it, and he's not that much into artifacts, but so we go back there over and over. And it also has a wonderful place to have lunch.
Mhm. Well, if Walter says it, I'm with you. Um, I have to ask this question that Martha asked. Have you ever gotten dressed in a Regency era dress? And the reason I ask is because you've been to my library several times, and I have dressed up, but you have not. So, so do you?
No, no, that's
Oh!
not me.
All
That's
right,
not me.
for our next rom con, I'm gonna, I'm gonna see. I'll bring you a dress.
It's not going to happen.
All right, fine, fine. You be you, Loretta. I'll be me.
Blazers, and trousers is me.
You know what? You always look comfortable. I'm always like waiting for my dress to fall off when it happens. I'm like, oh, this is like really uncomfortable. How did they
I
do this
think
all day?
I think I have one of those high waisted dresses, but it was back in the 60s or 70s or something. That was a thing then. I did have one. I think it was green velvet or something. Yes.
Ooh. I love that Caroline Linden makes her own Regency dresses. She's just phenomenal seamstress. I'm guessing you guys talk about that whenever you chat. No?
No, I'm not a seamstress. That's one part of the knowledge I wish I had more about because I would understand things better. Like when I visit the museums and we're going into the archives, particularly Colonial Williamsburg, I go there with Susan, and she has a real appreciation of the textiles, but also the construction.
Mhm,
I have to read a lot of books to make sure I get things right and look at a lot of pictures
mhm,
to make sure I understand how a dress goes together.
mhm. Well, you certainly have done that because your research is just for me impeccable. I learned so much from reading your books. Um, One last question about visiting. Have you been to Egypt? I think I asked you this because of the Mr. Impossible, Lord Perfect series.
I have not been to Egypt. I probably wouldn't be able. I don't think I could deal with the heat.
Mm,
And also the thing with the places I would want to see, I would not be able to go into because I have claustrophobia. So that would be a problem. But I go whenever I see any kind of exhibition of Egyptian work. The Worcester Art Museum had one like a year or two ago. And in London, we happened on the Petrie Museum, which I hadn't even known existed. We
mhm,
were looking for something else, and I said, wait a minute, Petrie, I know who he was. And we walk into the museum, and there's this amazing collection of Egyptian artifacts,
mhm,
all kinds of information. It was really delightful. So, and I do have many, maybe 20, 30, 40 books about Egypt.
Hmm. I just heard on the news recently that Egypt did build this massive museum. I want to say like 500,000 square feet or something like that. It's massive. And they've been recollecting art that had been stolen from them over the centuries. So
Mm-hmm.
it's supposedly amazing. So if it's air conditioned, maybe we should go, Loretta.
Yeah, if it's air conditioned, yeah.
I would totally
Oh.
do that. And I love this comment or question by Elaine. Do you organize or host group tours of Regency England? I think that would be so much fun, like for us to walk through all these places that you envisioned in your book.
Oh, well, I'm taking people on these through these short videos that I've been doing,
Mhm.
which have been posted on my blog. And this year, Jessica and I are trying to put together my YouTube channel. So I'm hoping to post my little tours on the YouTube channel. And I think that'll be really useful for people who are traveling to London because we discovered museums that no one had ever even heard of
Mhm.
here
Mhm.
that were so wonderful. Or some that you people had heard of, but they're not, they don't feel inclined to go there. So I'm showing them this is why you want to come to this place. One of the big excitements, many the last trip was when I go to a place that I've written about and it's still there,
Mhm.
and I get very excited. And so one of the places was Asgill House, which I used as a house in Dukes Prefer Blondes
Mhm.
for the hero's parents. And I was thrilled. I knew it was there, but when you actually happen on the place, and they've done such a beautiful job of restoring it and restoring the grounds, really lovely. And going to the Cock Tavern where I set a couple scenes from the last Duke's book. It's there. It burned down and they redid it, but it's there.
Mhm.
Those kinds of things are really exciting for me. So I'm doing those those are going to be up on the YouTube channel. I just
And
have
I
to
think
do
they
it.
were posted on. I think they were posted on your Instagram, right?
Yep. Some
Because
of
that's
it's
where I
been,
saw them. Okay.
yeah.
Just a few more questions. Marilyn asks, "What's a piece of history you'd love to get into a book but haven't yet? And what's a piece of history you did get in and were delighted that you did?"
Oh, well, I'm always delighted with all the history I put in my books because I'm a nerdy history girl.
I know.
I love doing real stuff. It's like that thing with the Cock Tavern. I was so excited. It's still there. I'm going to have my hero be there with this woman. Um, but yeah, I don't think there's the idea of the favorites are the most interesting. They're all interesting to me. I get excited about history. It's just fun for me to learn things, to discover those things. And also, the part of the joy of it is the perspective it gives me on my own times. So I can compare and contrast.
Mhm.
You see cycles,
Mhm.
political cycles, um, the cycles in literature. It's just very interesting generally.
Mhm.
So that's like the favorite books question.
Okay, so Maureen asks, and sort of like an offshoot of this is, do you read other historical fiction? And if so, what authors do you like? So, like, I know you read tons of nonfiction. I know you read a lot of ladies' magazines from back in the day. But do you read other historical fiction, historical romance, or other genres?
I don't read much. I don't read historical fiction usually. I used to read it a long time ago, but I don't read that. I tend to like to read a history book. I mean, I got very excited because I found this wonderful book called Gentlemen of Uncertain Fortune, which deals with the younger sons.
Mm,
So that's interesting. And to me, I'm reading these, and it's like reading a novel.
hmm.
I'm learning, following the trajectory of someone's life, and it was very enlightening. But no, I don't. Not much historical fiction, and some historical romance. Um, and I try to read at least one book by different authors so that I have a sense of what they're doing. But I worry about absorbing by osmosis things instead of going my own route.
Hmm.
So I tend, if I'm going to read romance, I tend a little more towards contemporary than historical.
Interesting. Well, this would be a good time to announce your news with Lord of Scoundrels, which is not this cover that I have, but it's going to be different. What is it?
Yes, Julia Quinn is doing special editions of certain books, and my book was chosen to be one of these special editions, which are just so amazing and they're so beautiful. I haven't seen the finished artwork yet, but I have seen the preliminary artwork, and I, there are scenes illustrated. The edges are going to be sprayed. I mean, they're just beautiful, beautiful additions. So I'm very excited, and I was really honored that my book was chosen. Yeah, it's a big deal.
I can't imagine what other book she could have picked first. I know the other two. One is Eloisa James and one is Alyssa Cole. So amazing. So are they going to be signed? I know I asked you this in an email, but like, are they going to be signed?
Not to mind, no one's told me. And a lot of this stuff goes on, and I don't know. This was worked out between Julia and my publisher. So, and then she, let me know about it because they wanted my approval on the artwork and that sort of thing. Oh, but she picked such talented people to do the artwork. It really, I'm just thinking about the scene that's on. I'm not going to spoil it, but oh my gosh, so beautiful. Um, so what was the question? Where was I?
I was just gushing, but basically, if you want to find out about it or get on the list, or not list, but like be ready to buy them, you can follow JQ Editions on Facebook and Instagram, I believe, and there's going to be a website as well where you can order the first three books of 2026. And I'm definitely going to order because Loretta's going to be at my romance festival in May, and I will get it signed for sure.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and
yeah.
maybe
I'm not. No one's talked about signing them ahead of time, so
okay.
I don't know.
Well, I'll bring my old copy too because I don't think Lord of Scoundrels is it still in print?
Yes. Oh
Okay, so
yes.
yeah, we can get it any which way we want. But I'm very excited about this, and I can't like I said I can't think of a better book for it to get her started. So that's the news. I'll put a link in that to in the recap email I sent everybody. But I have a question. I wanted to spend a couple minutes at least on the state of historical romance right now. Karen asks, authors seem to be moving away from writing historical romance. What is your take on the state of historical romance today? There used to be more of a variety of time periods, medieval, Renaissance, etc., and now it's hard to find books not set in the Regency.
Yeah. The publishing business and the writing business. Um, we're always going through these cycles, and it's one of the advantages of having done this for so long that I see the cycles. But what's been happening recently has been different. And we did have some consolidation. I remember way back when the traditional regencies used to have all these lines, so many different publishers, and then it got narrower and narrower and narrower down to
Mhm.
like three or four. And but now we're living in a changed environment where a lot of people are self-publishing, and the Regency era is just very, very popular with authors for various reasons. And I think a lot of it is just the deep, deep love of Jane Austen, and just in love with the era, the clothes. So there's that. And I think that might contribute to sort of feeling like the market's being glutted with that. But also, publishing has changed. And I think every single publishing house, if you look at Publishers Weekly, there's a lot of turmoil going on there. There's no more mass market.
Mhm. I'm so
Um,
sad.
yeah. And I'm not, and they don't always know. They don't know what's going on. They just kind of go with the flow, the publishers. So romantasy has become really, really popular. And it's popular with younger readers, which is great because you want to maintain the readership. And but I can't predict what's going to happen with historical romance. For years and years and years, we've always seen it go through cycles. And a part of me believes that it will go through a cycle and it will surge again. But I'm not sure because so much has changed with AI, with self-publishing, and the way the publishers are just squeezed. I really don't know what's going to happen with it. And
Mm,
I don't have an explanation. The ways of the publishing world, and I'm not just including the publishers, but what readers are going to buy, remain mysterious. It's very unpredictable. It's kind of like that. Was it who's William Goldman or something, wrote that nobody knows anything about Hollywood. Well, I
mhm,
think that's the same thing where it comes to publishing. Nobody knows anything.
mhm,
You can't predict what necessarily what people are going to buy.
mhm. It's true, but I have to say that I think that's just personally, like I think that historical romance is never going to die because it's very popular. Um, and it's been expanded on, like there's more stories, more diverse stories, like more voices being heard. And so and that's through self-publishing. I love the self-publishing. I think so much is
Yes.
happening in that world, and I think that's where I find the most diverse sort of historical romances. So I don't think anybody I don't think anybody here is going to say that historical romance will go away. I think it'll just change.
Yeah, and I think part of the thing too is depends on whether you're going into bookstores and buying physical books or you're buying ebooks.
Hmm.
And maybe there, there's there might be more going on with the ebooks that we're not aware of in terms of historical romance.
Hmm.
So that's one option possibility. And you are absolutely right about historical romances because in the last few years, I've seen people writing in eras that they never thought of writing in before or were not allowed to. The publishers weren't interested.
Hmm.
So you're seeing the Gilded Age. I mean, that seems, what's wrong with writing about the Gilded Age? Well, no one wanted Gilded
Hmm.
Age romances. And people writing books that are set in the 1920s. Um, so that's happening. And that's an evolution. And as you said, the diversity, um, different stories about different people. And it doesn't all have to be about aristocratic white people in London.
Oh, it can be, but the we also know there's only so many dukes actually,
Like
in
two
right?
dozen altogether. Yeah.
Yeah, and most of them are not that handsome,
To
and
know. Or their grandfathers, or, yeah.
but I mean, like I think I will always love historical romance, and I know that a lot of people here will read it until the day they pop off. So um, I don't think it's going anywhere. Suzanne asks, you mentioned life events blocking your writing for a time until another event compelled you to write again. Can you speak a little bit about how you managed the stress in that period of being blocked and what you learned from that experience as a writer that's endured?
Um, okay. Because I've been blocked a few times. But the one she's talking about, I did other things. I traveled. I went back to writing scripts for video.
Mhm.
And I got to do some really interesting ones, which were fun. And I think that helped build my skills and my confidence. So when it was time to start writing again, I was ready. Um, and a lot of it, I think, at the time, people thought maybe I had one diagnosis was burnout, which is possible. You get fixed on the same stuff, or you're so busy writing and meeting deadlines that you're not refilling the well. And the way I refill the well is reading, but also traveling. And it's not necessarily traveling just to do research, it's just traveling in general and interacting with people and being in different places. So the thing for me has always been to find other stimulation.
Mm-hmm.
And but I never stop writing. I'm just not writing necessarily a book.
Mm-hmm.
And in those cases, it's just because the story won't come. I'm just uh, Laverne Spencer. I remember talking about writer's block, and she said, "I just had nothing. You're staring into the abyss. There's nothing."
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm going to go back to something you said about confidence. And I'm thinking if Loretta Chase can like have a lack of confidence at some point in her writing career, any one of us who's a writer, and I'm not a writer, could have it, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, nobody
How about
expects it.
always having a lack of confidence?
I can't even imagine, Loretta. Like you, I mean, like,
Yeah, rewrite the pages 10 times. Not that book though. That one,
okay, all right.
the pages did not get rewritten constantly. That one.
But it's good for us to hear, us mortals, like to hear
Yes.
that, our high icons or heroes have just the same kind of issues at different times and learn from, and we can learn from, what you went through and how we can manage it if we have that, like, I go through reading slumps and I don't know what to do about it. So, if anybody has advice, let me know because reading is my escape. And when I can't escape, I'm stressed, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
Elaine asks, and I have to like add to this question. Have you ever considered being a movie script writer? And I have to ask, would you consider have your books been optioned? Can we have you like write the scripts for your books for a series on Netflix?
Yeah. Well, someone else will have to do that. That won't be me. I have during that time when I was blocked, one of the things that my husband and I talked about was my writing movie scripts.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started subscribing to a magazine that published screenplays. And I realized my brain does not work that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very different art, and I admire the people who can do it. Um, it it's really different. There are some writers like Elmore Leonard. Okay, he writes a book. He's practically written the screenplay because he knows exactly how to do it, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm very envious of that skill. But I don't have it. That's not the way I write.
No. Okay, going back to my question, when will we see, the Dukes or the dressmakers or somebody on Netflix?
I don't know when someone options the books.
I'm gonna have to talk to Shonda. I'm gonna, like I'll just write her, send her a little note. Oh my
I've felt that a couple of the series really would work. The dressmakers, I do think, would be so interesting and visually interesting too, because of the clothes, but because of who those women are.
hmm
Um, and yes, I would love for it to happen, but no one's talked about making a movie.
All right. Well, everybody, use your influence. Make this happen. Okay, last question. What are you working on right now?
I am working on what I think is going to be a spin-off from the Difficult Dukes.
Ooh.
I'm not positive because once again, characters are not cooperating with me. I have many, many dozens of ideas, and they so far haven't coalesced. But that's what's going to happen. That's where I'm going. I am going to write another book, maybe 10 more books. I don't know. But it's harder for me to do that these
Mhm.
days than it used to be.
Well, Loretta, you could write 10,000 more books and I would read them all
Thank you. Thank you.
because I love them so much. And I know that everybody here does. And if you haven't read Loretta, absolutely do it because you will not be sorry. Um, so thank you so much for doing this. Like I said, stepping in when Susan couldn't and just talking about your books. I don't know if we've ever just chatted about your books. This has been really wonderful.
Yeah, we haven't. And this, yeah, it really has been great. And the questions are fantastic. What a joy.
It's a good group, really good group. And
Yes,
they're
really good group. Yeah.
your fans, Loretta. They are legion. So yeah, I will look forward to seeing you soon, either at one of the in-person programs or definitely at the Romance Festival in May. And for everybody who's been here, thank you for your questions and for your attention. And I hope you have many, many happy books to read in the near future.
Oh,
So
yes. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. This is great.
yeah, have a great night, everybody. Happy reading.